Imagine a sunny day in Miami. The sky was bright blue, and the ocean sparkled like a million tiny diamonds. People were laughing and playing on the beach, building sandcastles, and splashing in the waves. Cars zoomed down the streets, their horns beeping a cheerful tune. Palm trees swayed gently in the warm breeze. Children were running around, chasing pigeons and eating ice cream cones that dripped down their hands. Fishermen were casting their lines, hoping to catch a big one. Families were having picnics in the park, sharing sandwiches and stories. Everything felt happy and peaceful. Even the animals seemed to be enjoying the day. Seagulls soared overhead, their cries echoing across the water. Squirrels scampered up trees, burying nuts for later. Butterflies fluttered from flower to flower, sipping nectar. Miami was a city full of life and energy. People from all walks of life lived and worked there, making it a vibrant and exciting place to be. Little did they know, this beautiful day was about to take a turn for the worse. Something was coming that would change their lives forever. A dark cloud was gathering on the horizon, bringing with it a powerful force of nature. The happy sounds of Miami were suddenly interrupted. A loud, blaring noise came from the radio speakers everywhere, in shops, in cars, even on the beach. It was an emergency weather alert. "Attention, attention!" the voice boomed. "This is an urgent message from the National Weather Service. A powerful hurricane is approaching the coast of Florida. Hurricane season is upon us. Residents are advised to seek shelter immediately. This is not a drill." People stopped what they were doing. The laughter died down. A hush fell over the city. Everyone looked around, their faces filled with worry. The sunny sky didn't seem so bright anymore. The ocean didn't sparkle quite as much. The radio announcer continued, "Hurricane warnings are in effect for all coastal areas. The storm is expected to bring strong winds, heavy rain, and dangerous flooding. Stay tuned to this station for further updates and instructions." On the beach, families quickly packed up their belongings. Children clung to their parents, their eyes wide with fear. The fishermen reeled in their lines and hurried back to shore. Cars started to fill the streets, as people tried to get home or find a safe place to go. The emergency alert had changed everything. The happy, carefree day was over. Now, everyone was focused on one thing: surviving the storm. The threat was real, and time was running out. But what exactly is a hurricane? Imagine a giant spinning top made of wind and rain. That's kind of like a hurricane. It starts over warm ocean water, which acts like fuel, making it stronger and stronger. The warm water makes air rise, and as the air rises, it cools and forms clouds. These clouds swirl around and around, creating a huge storm system. The center of the hurricane is called the eye, and it's usually calm and clear. But don't be fooled. The area around the eye, called the eye wall, has the strongest winds and heaviest rain. Hurricanes are measured by categories, from 1 to 5. A Category 1 hurricane has winds of about 74 miles per hour, while a Category 5 hurricane has winds of over 157 miles per hour. That's like having a car driving at top speed right next to you. These powerful storms can cause a lot of damage. The strong winds can knock down trees and power lines, and the heavy rain can cause flooding. The storm surge, which is a rise in sea level, can also flood coastal areas. That's why it's so important to listen to weather alerts and take hurricanes seriously. They are a force of nature to be respected, and preparation is key to staying safe. The people of Miami needed to get ready fast. Families all over Miami started preparing. Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez boarded up their windows with plywood, making sure each board was nailed tightly. Their children, Maria and Miguel, helped by taping large X's across the glass, hoping to keep it from shattering. Next door, Mrs. Johnson filled bathtubs and buckets with water. "We need to have plenty of water to drink and wash with if the power goes out," she explained to her grandson, David. David helped her gather flashlights and batteries, making sure they had enough to last for days. Across town, the Thompson family debated whether to stay or leave. "The news says this could be a really big storm," said Mr. Thompson. Maybe we should evacuate to a safer place, like my sister's house inland. Mrs. Thompson hesitated. But what about our house? We've lived here for so long. Finally, they decided to stay. They gathered all their important papers and photos and put them in a waterproof container. They also packed a bag with clothes, food, and medicine, just in case. Everywhere you looked, people were busy getting ready. Some were helping their neighbors, sharing supplies and offering support. Others were rushing to the store to buy last-minute items. A feeling of tension, but also determination, filled the air. Miami was getting ready to face the hurricane head-on. They were scared, but they were also strong. The hurricane finally hit. The wind howled like a wolf, shaking the houses and bending the trees almost to the ground. Rain lashed against the windows, making it hard to see anything outside. The power went out, plunging the city into darkness. Inside their homes, families huddled together, trying to stay calm. Maria and Miguel Rodriguez held hands, listening to the wind roar. Mrs. Johnson told David stories to distract him from the storm. The Thompson family played board games by candlelight, trying to make the best of a scary situation. Outside, the storm raged on. Streets started to flood, and cars were soon underwater. Trees crashed down, blocking roads and damaging houses. The sound of sirens filled the air as rescue workers tried to reach people in need. The storm's surge pushed seawater far inland, flooding coastal neighborhoods. Waves crashed against buildings, and boats were tossed around like toys. The hurricane was showing its full power, and Miami was in its path. It was a long and terrifying night. Everyone waited anxiously for the storm to pass, hoping that they would be safe and that their city would survive. The sounds of destruction filled the air, a constant reminder of the danger they were in. All they could do was hold on tight and pray for the best. Even in the midst of the storm, acts of kindness and bravery shone through. Mr. Garcia, a neighbor of the Rodriguez family, noticed that their boarded-up window was starting to crack. He risked going outside in the howling wind and rain to reinforce it, preventing the window from breaking completely. Across the street, a group of teenagers helped Mrs. Olson, an elderly woman, evacuate her flooded home. They carried her through the waist-deep water to a nearby school that had been turned into a shelter. Firefighters and police officers worked tirelessly, rescuing people trapped in their homes and cars. They navigated flooded streets and dodged fallen trees, putting their own lives at risk to save others. At the shelter, volunteers handed out blankets and food to those who had lost everything. Doctors and nurses tended to the injured, providing comfort and care. People shared stories and offered words of encouragement, reminding each other that they were not alone. Even the animals were helping. A stray dog, now known as Hero, led rescue workers to a family trapped in their attic. Hero barked and whined until the rescuers followed him, saving the family just in time. These acts of kindness and courage showed the true spirit of Miami. Even in the face of disaster, people were willing to help each other, proving that even the strongest storm couldn't break the bonds of community. Meanwhile, in the White House, President John F. Kennedy was watching the news reports about the hurricane with growing concern. He sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by advisors, the television screen showing images of flooded streets and damaged buildings. He listened intently as the reporters described the situation in Miami, the rising water levels, and the increasing number of people in need of rescue. The faces of the people on the screen, filled with fear and desperation, weighed heavily on his heart. "This is a disaster of immense proportions," he said gravely, turning to his team. "We need to act quickly and decisively to help the people of Miami." He asked his advisors about the resources available and the best way to get help to the city as soon as possible. He wanted to know how many people were displaced, how much food and water was needed, and what kind of medical assistance was required. JFK paced back and forth, his brow furrowed in thought. He knew that time was of the essence. Every minute that passed meant more people suffering, more lives at risk. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He knew that he had the power to make a difference, and he was determined to do everything he could to help. The situation demanded immediate action. President Kennedy made his decision. "We are deploying the National Guard to Miami immediately," he announced firmly. "They will assist with rescue efforts, provide security, and help distribute essential supplies." He also ordered the immediate dispatch of emergency supplies: food, water, blankets, medicine, everything the people of Miami desperately needed. He instructed the military to use all available resources to transport these supplies to the affected areas as quickly as possible. "I want every single person in Miami to know that the full support of the United States government is behind them," he declared. "We will not rest until everyone is safe and the city is on the road to recovery." He knew this was a huge undertaking, but he was determined to succeed. He contacted the governors of nearby states, asking for their help and cooperation. He also reached out to private organizations and charities, urging them to contribute to the relief effort. JFK understood the importance of leadership in times of crisis. He wanted to reassure the nation that the government was there to help, that no one would be left behind. He believed that by working together, they could overcome this challenge and rebuild Miami even stronger than before. His words were meant to inspire hope and confidence in a time of despair. The National Guard arrived in Miami like a cavalry of hope. Trucks and jeeps rumbled through the flooded streets, carrying soldiers ready to help. The guardsmen wore serious expressions, but their presence brought a sense of reassurance to the weary residents. They immediately began helping people evacuate their homes, carrying children and the elderly to safety. They waded through chest-deep water, their strong arms providing support, and their voices offering encouragement. The soldiers also helped clear debris from the roads, using heavy equipment to move fallen trees and other obstacles. They worked alongside local rescue workers, forming a united front against the devastation. At the shelters, the National Guard assisted with distributing food and water, ensuring that everyone had what they needed. They also provided security, maintaining order and preventing looting. For many, the arrival of the National Guard was a turning point. It was a sign that they were not forgotten, that help was on its way. It gave them the strength to keep going, to face the challenges ahead. The sight of the soldiers working tirelessly, selflessly, restored a sense of hope in a city that had been battered and bruised. They were a symbol of resilience and a promise of recovery. The shelters were crowded and noisy. Hundreds of people were packed into school gymnasiums and community centers, seeking refuge from the storm. Cots lined the floors, and the air was thick with the smell of wet clothes and anxiety. Despite the difficult conditions, there was also a sense of community. People shared their stories, their fears, and their hopes. They helped each other care for children, comforted the elderly, and offered words of encouragement. Maria and Miguel Rodriguez played games with other children to pass the time. Mrs. Johnson shared her dwindling supply of cookies with her neighbors. The Thompson family helped organize activities to keep everyone's spirits up. Volunteers worked tirelessly to provide food, water, and medical care. They set up makeshift clinics and distributed blankets and clothing. They listened to people's concerns and offered a shoulder to cry on. Even though they had lost so much, the people in the shelters found strength in each other. They realized that they were all in this together, and that they would get through it together. The shared experience of surviving the hurricane had created a bond that would last a lifetime. The shelters were more than just places to sleep. They were places of hope, resilience, and community. They were a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even the most challenging circumstances. Finally, after what seemed like forever, the wind began to die down. The rain slowed to a drizzle. The sky started to lighten. The hurricane was moving away. A collective sigh of relief swept through the shelters. People hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. They had made it through the storm. They were safe. But they knew that the ordeal was not over. The city outside was in ruins. Homes were destroyed, streets were flooded, and power lines were down. The road to recovery would be long and difficult. As the sun rose, people ventured out of the shelters to assess the damage. What they saw was heartbreaking. Their beautiful city was a mess. Trees were uprooted, cars were overturned, and buildings were damaged. Despite the devastation, there was also a sense of hope. The storm had passed, and the sun was shining again. The people of Miami were alive, and they were determined to rebuild their city. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face the challenge together. The worst was over, and a new chapter was about to begin. They had survived. The days that followed were filled with hard work and determination. People worked side by side, clearing debris, repairing homes, and helping their neighbors. The National Guard continued to provide assistance, distributing supplies and maintaining order. Slowly but surely, Miami began to recover. Power was restored to some areas, and businesses started to reopen. Schools welcomed students back, and life began to return to some semblance of normalcy. But the scars of the hurricane were still visible. Many homes were uninhabitable, and some businesses were forced to close permanently. The emotional toll of the storm was also significant, with many people struggling to cope with the trauma they had experienced. Despite the challenges, the people of Miami refused to give up. They organized community cleanup events, volunteered their time and skills, and donated generously to relief efforts. They were determined to rebuild their city and create a better future for themselves and their children. The recovery process was a testament to the resilience and spirit of the people of Miami. They had faced a devastating disaster, but they had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. They had proven that even the most powerful storm could not break their spirit. The city was healing, one brick, one tree, one helping hand at a time. A few weeks after the hurricane, President Kennedy visited Miami. He wanted to see the damage for himself and to offer his support to the people of the city. He walked through the streets, shaking hands and talking to residents. He listened to their stories of loss and hardship, but he also heard their stories of courage and resilience. He saw the damaged homes and businesses, the fallen trees and the debris-filled streets. But he also saw the spirit of the people of Miami, their determination to rebuild their city, and their unwavering hope for the future. At a community meeting, JFK addressed the crowd. "I have come here today to tell you that you are not alone," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "The United States government will stand by you every step of the way as you rebuild your lives and your city." He promised that the government would provide financial assistance, resources, and expertise to help Miami recover. He also praised the people of Miami for their courage, their resilience, and their unwavering spirit. "You have shown the world what it means to be strong," he said. "You have faced adversity with grace and determination. And you will emerge from this crisis even stronger than before." His visit lifted spirits and reinforced the commitment to rebuild. The people felt heard and supported. President Kennedy kept his promise. The government poured resources into Miami, helping to rebuild homes, businesses, and infrastructure. New, stronger building codes were implemented to better protect the city from future storms. The Small Business Administration provided loans to help businesses get back on their feet. The Department of Housing and Urban Development offered assistance to homeowners to repair or rebuild their homes. The Army Corps of Engineers worked to improve flood control measures. The people of Miami also played a vital role in the rebuilding effort. They volunteered their time and skills, organized fundraising events, and supported local businesses. They showed the world what it meant to be a community. Slowly but surely, Miami rose from the ashes. New buildings replaced the old ones, stronger and more resilient than before. The streets were cleaned, the trees were replanted, and the city began to bloom again. The hurricane had been a terrible tragedy, but it had also revealed the strength and spirit of the people of Miami. They had faced adversity with courage and determination, and they had emerged victorious. And they knew they had the backing of their government, thanks to JFK. The city would be better than it ever was before. Years later, Miami stood as a testament to the power of community and the importance of strong leadership. The city had not only recovered from the hurricane, but it had thrived, becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. The new buildings were stronger and more beautiful than ever before. The streets were clean and safe. The parks were lush and green. The people were proud of their city and grateful for the support they had received. The story of the hurricane became a part of Miami's history, a reminder of the challenges they had overcome and the lessons they had learned. It was a story of tragedy, but also a story of triumph. And the name of John F. Kennedy was forever etched in the hearts of the people of Miami. They remembered his swift and decisive action, his unwavering support, and his inspiring words. They knew that without his leadership, the recovery would have been much more difficult, if not impossible. The people of Miami had regained their faith in their government, knowing that it was there to protect them and help them in times of need. The city became a shining example of what can be achieved when people work together, with strong leadership and unwavering hope. The storm had tested them, but they had emerged stronger than ever. Remember Maria and Miguel Rodriguez? They grew up to be architects, designing buildings that could withstand even the strongest hurricanes. They wanted to make sure that what happened to their family and their city never happened again. Mrs. Johnson's grandson, David, became a meteorologist, studying the weather and learning how to predict hurricanes so that people could be better prepared. He wanted to help save lives by giving people early warnings. The Thompson family became active in their community, volunteering their time and resources to help those in need. They knew firsthand the importance of helping others during a crisis. And the stray dog, Hero? He became a symbol of hope and resilience, reminding everyone that even in the darkest of times, there is always light. A statue of Hero was erected in the town square, a permanent reminder of the courage and kindness that emerged during the hurricane. Miami, forever changed, also stood taller, a beacon to other cities that might face similar disasters. The city taught the world that even though bad things can happen, people can overcome them with courage, help, and strong leadership. And so, Miami rose again, a stronger, more resilient city. The people had faced their darkest hour, but they had emerged with their spirits unbroken. They learned that even when bad things happen, courage, kindness, and strong leadership can light the way forward. The memory of JFK's visit and his unwavering commitment to their recovery remained a source of pride and inspiration for generations to come. His actions proved that government could be a force for good, a partner in times of need. The city's skyline, dotted with buildings designed to withstand the fiercest storms, served as a constant reminder of the lessons learned. The statue of Hero stood as a symbol of hope, reminding everyone that even in the darkest of times, there is always light. And the people of Miami, forever bound by their shared experience, continued to build a better future for themselves and their children. They had faced adversity and emerged victorious. They had proven that the human spirit is indomitable. Miami was healed, and hope was restored, not just because of the resources provided, but because of the leadership that inspired those resources to flow, and the spirit that enabled the people to use them to rebuild, better than before. The end.